All right. Well, we are ready. The Pittsburgh Pirates, though, were not ready on this night. So, for Pirate fans, you may have enjoyed the team scoring a lot of runs and winning games, and that comes to an end on this night. So, the streak of scoring runs and beating the Chicago Cubs comes to an end on this night. The Pirates lose 14-1 as the Cubs maybe get some revenge for the last two nights and take a victory here over Pittsburgh. It was a historic night for a Pirates pitcher on the mound who allows 10 runs, and the Pirates again lose this one 14-1. This is, of course, your Pirates post-game show here on Pittsburgh Sports Live and Pittsburgh Baseball Now. I'm Mike Asti, and I am joined by Cody Potanko, who I believe still is with me here. His screen is frozen, but I believe Cody. Yeah, yes, Cody is still here. Okay, I was going to say it's all going wrong for the Pirates on this night, and also for us covering this game. But yeah, they do lose at 14-1. So, Cody, obviously everything went wrong. It was all kinds of bad for the Pirates, and the offense goes back to sleep in this game after, of course, exploding with 12 runs, 7 runs in the prior two games, and solid starts as well. And that doesn't happen in this game, as Eickhoff becomes the first Pirates pitcher in a debut to allow 10 runs, first game with the team. And boy, it was really, really bad. We have a lot to talk about, though, on this. I do want to also discuss Oneil Cruz leading off, of course, which was different than the prior two nights as well. But do you chalk this game up to more of what maybe the Pirates are? Because they certainly have been like this at times in recent weeks. After that sweep of the Dodgers and winning that season series, they kind of had a 9-10 game streak where this was the Pirates before Oneil Cruz got called up. I did a morning show, and we've had shows about this, how Oneil Cruz coming up ignited the team and they picked it up offensively. But is that an aberration? Is this more of the team? Is there something there in the middle that we're going to see in future series against the Rays and other teams coming up?
I don't know, man. It's pretty much run of the mill Pirates. I mean, there's going to be excitement with Cruz coming through the works, but I mean, I don't think 14-1 or 14-2, whatever the final score was, is going to be the regular thing that we see from the Pirates. I think the majority of these games.
Yeah, it ends up being 14-2. You are correct there. I got caught.
Cruz's RBI streak stayed alive.
Right. Yeah, there you go. That's phenomenal too. Yes, he actually does get a ribby even despite not getting hit and going 0 for 5 in the game. So
yeah. But I mean, like I said, the Pirates have been in a lot of close games this year. And I think you can chalk that up to one of two things. One, the team just isn't that good right now. Sure. They're filled with scrubs, I guess you could say, and some not so great parts. And the second part is that there's a lot of youth on this club. I think the Pirates are one of the youngest teams in the majors right now. So, with that youth comes a lot of mistakes, a lot of learning moments. So it is what it is, man. But Oneil Cruz is here. We should be excited. Maybe the Pirates turn a table in 2023, but 2022 is now. And it's not very pretty.
It's not pretty, but at least it was exciting for a while. And again, that was the headline question on my show this morning. There's some excitement around the Pirates, and there really has been the last couple days, and certainly because of Oneil Cruz, and he was driving in runs, 4 RBI in that first night, and then you see the streak continues here in this game. They end up losing at 14-2, being the official final score. And it feels like maybe same old Pirates, but the last two nights, how much of an aberration is that? This team isn't going to contend this year, obviously, but it was about improving a little bit, showing some excitement, having these individual players step up a little bit. Even Brian Reynolds starting to step it up a little bit, and Hayes maybe almost having an underrated, pretty solid year after injury plagued the last couple of years and not really being what the hype was when he got called up in that September. So you just don't know. Cody Potanko, Mike Asti here. Pittsburgh Baseball Now and Pittsburgh Sports Live as we are recapping 14-2. It was a rough one. And again, Jared Eickhoff allows the 10 runs, the first Pirate to do so in his first start with the team. So I do want to ask you, did you see any glimpse of anything out of him that you could see another start coming in there? How does he get this start how does he end up in the rotation and even get this start? How does he not end up basically just having a whole ride through the bullpen? It's been a while since he really was even somebody the teams went to as a starter, and it's been up and down the minor leagues to the major leagues for him the last several years. This just was god awful. There's no other way to describe it. What's the future of him, and how did we even get here?
I think it was a one and done for Eickhoff. I think he was the sacrificial lamb. Someone had to start this game due to Zach Thompson going on the 15-day IL. So I don't think we see him in the future. I think it was Persak who asked Shelton about Eickhoff and maybe do we see him until Thompson comes back, and Shelton kind of gave a very non-transparent answer saying we will see, we got to weigh our options, the basic corporate speaks. So we can only go off of opinion here. After what we saw in Eickhoff's track record, I wouldn't want to see him start a game again with the Pirates or any team that for that matter.
Yeah. And by the way, I do also see we have 14-5 right now. So the Pirates are trying to claw into this somehow. This game, not that it's relevant because this game certainly has been lost, but the heart's there, even though it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's what comes with a young team, man. I mean, they don't give up. I'll tell you that. Right. I mean, the young guns on this club always fight every at bat. You see Sawinski do it, Castillo do it. Cruz has gotten better doing that. And Bly Madris, I mean, you can ask any of his teammates. The kid has more heart than anybody. So it's encouraging. It's just, it's going to be ugly for a while.
Yes, it will. It will absolutely be ugly. How entertaining it will be the question. And it was entertaining for a while. Can it get entertaining again? Oneil Cruz, part of that entertainment. So I do want to also ask you about your thoughts of him leading off this game. Now, oddly enough, ends up being the leadoff hitter, doesn't get on base, ends up going over 5, does continue the RBI streak. But that's not where we saw him the prior 2 nights, and not even where we saw him pretty much any other time. Obviously, they tinkered around with this leadoff spot most of the year. They kind of eventually settled on the Hayes and Reynolds 1-2 punch. We even saw Vogelbach leading off to open up the season. What are your thoughts on Oneil Cruz doing more in this leadoff role? Do you want to see him lead off more, depending on obviously what pitcher and left-handed or right-handed they're going to face, or would you rather see him further down in the order?
Well, I mean, from what I saw with Cruz in AAA this year, they've had him in the leadoff spot a lot.
Yeah.
It was him and Ji-Hwan Bae, I think, as the 1-2 punch for a lot of the year, and Travis Swaggerty added in there as well. I think Cruz can do it. I absolutely think he can do it. We saw his speed on display. What was it, last night or the night previous? It was 30.5 feet per second. So he has a lot of speed. The legs are long strides. I preferably would like to see Cruz bat maybe right now in the 5th spot, maybe 6th spot. I don't want to see him bat cleanup yet. I want to protect him a little bit in this lineup. But I mean, if you got to throw him in the leadoff spot, that's fine. I'd rather see Ke'Bryan Hayes there for now.
It does seem like Ke'Bryan Hayes is more of the fit there, and he's been hitting most of the season. He's fit. He's done well in that role. He's certainly been the best in that role. Why tinker with that? Of course, again, whether it's about winning or not this year, you still, if you have somebody in their role, why tinker with it? You still want to kind of find your footing there. Cody Potanko, Mike Asti here, Pittsburgh Baseball Now, Pittsburgh Sports Live. The Pirates do eventually. Now the final score ends up being 14-5. So they lose it 14-5. It went from 14-1, 14-2, and 14-5. So they kept on tacking up runs while we were on the show here. I tried to just get on because, we felt like the game was decided. They do add some runs here. It ends up being irrelevant, though. And, of course, Eickhoff allows the 10, so he ends up joining some history, but probably maybe his first and last start maybe as a Pittsburgh Pirate. They play a day game tomorrow. So a quick turnaround, 12:35 tomorrow. And that could be an opportunity for the Cubs to tie this series and win their second of this series, where the Pirates could try to steal 3 out of 4 yet again over Chicago. It's Jose Quintana again for the Pirates on the mound. What do you think goes on in terms of the Pirates lineup in that game? Because we have seen them change things around and maybe give rest to guys like Hayes or Brian Reynolds, etc., especially for these random day games in the middle of the week after all these night games. Obviously, switching things around lineup wise, maybe to just give somebody a day off. And Quintana is a pitcher that maybe you could rely on either way. He actually has been pretty solid at times, even though his last several starts, he's allowed at least 3 runs.
Yeah. I think the Pirates are facing off against Steele tomorrow afternoon. Left-handed pitcher. Not a terrible ERA from what I'm looking at, a 4.27 ERA, so about league average. Cruz hasn't handled left-handed pitchers extremely well, so I could see Shelton giving Cruz a day off potentially. This lineup's left-handed heavy, and it's a complete change from the previous lineup last year. The Pirates were begging for left-handed batters, so and potentially even Brian Reynolds rest, with Cabrian Hayes obviously getting inserted back into the game.
Yeah, Reynolds has been a guy that certainly has got rest in these situations, so that wouldn't surprise me at all as well. And yeah, you bring up Oneil Cruz, it almost does make sense to maybe finally give him a rest. He's had this, kind of spurt here of being called up and then seeing him and you get excitement rolling and igniting the team, but then maybe it could make sense to give him a day off there, especially with that quick turnaround. Well, again, this is a series that maybe it caused some life to be there. Some people thought there was some life in this team. I believe this loss here, the 14-5 ends up being their 40th loss of the season. So obviously well under 500. This obviously is a season that is going to be one that's one to be desired still, but potentially some bright spots here as they go throughout the season. Kind of just to close it with this, and we can do a quick one here for this game because the baseball gods have not the baseball gods didn't smile down on the Pirates in this game, and they certainly didn't smile down on this broadcast either, really. So I think we're just gonna everyone involved maybe is gonna try to wash their hands and improve things. But they have the Rays coming up. That'll be an interesting series for Pirate fans to get to experience. Obviously, the Rays, a small market that's been able to have tons of success, and then Washington and Milwaukee to follow. What do you want to see coming up here, regardless of that game tomorrow with who they may or may not rest, because those day games are a little bit weirder, but moving forward here in terms of now you got the guys you kind of one up, this team's still not going to win, and we're still not yet at a trade deadline. They're going to figure things out for that. Maybe some players can still boost some value. JT Brubaker actually had his best start of the season recently, so maybe something could come of that. But what are you watching now? Is it just kind of all eyes on Oneil Cruz and company? Are you thinking maybe the excitement could be there? Do you want to see if they can actually be consistent and pull off 3 or 4 games in a row where you're excited to watch the Pirates, not just 1 or 2 like it's been recently?
Yeah, and I think we saw a little stretch there with Mitch Keller start. Then the next start was Oneil Cruz, and then the next start was Roansy Contreras. So, the Pirates have had a little stretch here of maybe eyes being glued to the screens, maybe not at the ballpark. The attendance numbers seem to still be down.
Sure.
Which is understandable.
Yeah.
But what I want to see in the next series is just more of the young guys. Let's just continue to develop them. It's going to be a bad year in terms of record, but I want to see consistent at bats. I want to see these guys consistently getting better So that way in 23, maybe you can start to contend a little bit until, 2024 comes, and then you can start to push the entire way. So I know that's a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe a word. It's what I want to see, not just in the upcoming series, but the series to follow. Cruz needs to be up here the entire year, the rest of the year, I guess I should say. So
Yeah.
Continue to develop and see what happens, man.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a little bit of vindication for Ben Cherington. And obviously, this is going to be a several-year process, so we're well before that can even be evaluated in any type of final plan is administered, and they're still figuring things out. But to see the young guys come up and actually see them produce and see excitement be there with the young guys, that's a positive for him in terms of that development. Oneil Cruz is a big deal. If he flounders, the whole plan really goes awry, regardless of what's going on with Ke'Bryan Hayes and Brian Reynolds and whether or not he's there for the future or not. You do get Mitch Keller to open up that Rays series, so that'll be interesting to see him start a series. He obviously has had several starts in a row that have been solid, tons of hype around him. It was a couple years where he was deer in headlights. We will see if that can continue on, and he can maybe emerge to maybe be the quote unquote ace of the team if he's starting these series and he's actually pitching well in these games. They don't have an ace, but he was supposed to be that guy even more than JT, and maybe he could finally become that. Maybe Oneil Cruz keeps on doing this. And again, as I said, it's not been talked about by anybody, but if Ke'Bryan Hayes can put together a full season with minor injuries, with not really missing that many games, and put up solid numbers and actually play well, whether it be leadoff or not, that's a big deal, because for a full season, we've not yet seen it, despite there being tons of hype and clearly tons of talent with Ke'Bryan Hayes and around this team. So, Cody, I'm going to let you go about your evening. The Pirates are going to go about their evening now, and they got a quick turnaround. So hopefully we can get some sleep. I don't know if they can as well. They have a quick turnaround to that day game tomorrow to close off this series to the Cubs, and they still have an opportunity to win this series. So that's something, even though the Cubs obviously are not that good, and maybe those first two games, as I talked about on other shows, are the Pirates showing something, or are the Cubs just really, really that bad? And we're finally figuring that out. And maybe that's part of it too. Although they did show up in this game.
It's a little bit of both.
Little bit of both. And maybe Eickhoff also helped allow the Cubs to finally wake up, because he didn't have his best stuff, to say the very least. Congrats to you, as you did tell me that you have a big life event coming up. So you're a winner this week, no matter what goes on in the baseball diamond for the Pirates.
Charlie Sheen, #winning.
Yes, you are #winning, Cody Potanko. I definitely appreciate the time. I will talk to you soon. I'm sure we'll be doing one of these soon whenever the NS9 guys need a rest. And more from them here coming up on Pittsburgh Sports Live with more post-game shows. And they picked a solid night to call me in for them with this game, and they had some fun.
They gave you the garbage time.
They basically did give me the garbage time. I told them I'd help them out and fill in when needed, and they gave me the garbage time here. 14-5 ends up being the final score. History made, though. Eickhoff, the first Pirate starter to make his debut with the team, and allowed 10 runs.